Ones that was talking that trash are the same ones circling wagons. You got me feeling like I'm Josh Allen. Yeah. What? You got me feeling like I'm Josh. Okay. You got me feeling like I'm Josh Allen. Yeah. Josh. Yeah. Got me feeling like I'm who? Josh. Yeah. Josh. Ones that was talking that trash are the same ones circling wagons. You got me feeling like I'm Josh Allen. Yeah. What?
The off season is well underway, and we have free agency coming up in a couple of weeks. We are going to discuss everything and anything going on with the Buffalo Bills from here and what to expect in the next couple of weeks.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Pro Football Hall of Famer and former Buffalo Bill Andre Reed. You're listening to Nate and the Fellas on Circle the Wagons podcast. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Go Bills.
Where else would you rather be than right here, right now?
Hey, hey, let's go Buffalo. Hey, hey, let's go Buffalo.
The Bills make me wanna shout.
What is up, Bills Mafia? Welcome to another episode of Circling the Wagons, a Buffalo fan base podcast. I am your host, Nate, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Feel free to grab in a comment into the live stream here if you have anything you want to add to this discussion, but we are going to discuss anything and everything Buffalo Bills. Have some interesting comments from Joe Brady in the Combine. I want to discuss Spencer Brown's contract gets restructured. The Bills extend Sam Franklin, and we're going to be getting into our Bills' biggest list of Bills needs heading into free agency and the draft. But I'd like to welcome my co-host, John, to the episode. John, we haven't talked in a minute since the end of the season, man. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
Indifferent.
Different? Feel in a different place? I haven't gotten your thoughts on the McDermott firing. No, you weren't a big fan of it.
Yeah, I don't think I've quite gotten over that yet. I've been trying to rationalize, and maybe I'll get there. We'll see.
It's one of the biggest, the 5 steps of grief, right? Rationalization or justification or whatever, right?
Yeah, I think the thing that has me hung up on it was the press conference with Pagula's comments.
Mm-hmm.
And just like, oh, I just saw Josh, and I was like, let's fire McDermott. Like, it just seems so haphazard and reactionary, and obviously they weren't preparing for that ahead of time. So all of a sudden the coaching search started then, not before then, not like thinking about potential candidates. And I don't know, it just seemed like a mess.
Yeah, that was the optics from the fan base and from the outside. Pretty much everyone had the same thoughts on this. It was so funny because, I wasn't against firing McDermott, even though like I didn't want to. I'm not completely against it. I just thought the timing was off, like if this had happened after 13 seconds, like you'd be like, okay, I get it, right? Like that was a huge mess up. That was like FUBAR, right? Like it was beyond what should have ever happened. The Bills were up in that game. They should have won that game. They could have gone to the Super Bowl that year. I get it, man. If there's someone to be fired after that, like that was, McDermott, but they didn't. Instead, they hung on to him, and a lot of people could argue that this was one of his better coaching seasons because of the lack of talent on the roster and the injuries. Nothing that had, specifically to do with Sean McDermott's job coaching. So yeah, it was
100%. And he built this culture, right? Like everybody talks about culture, like yeah, whatever. But like the players are all bought into it, and now he's gone. And they replace him with the guy that everybody thought should have been fired.
Both guys that should have been fired. I had it as my list of people to be fired. I had Bean, Brady, and then McDermott. It wasn't like in that order, and instead they kept the top two and got rid of the third one. So
yeah, I mean Brady was at the top of a lot of people's lists, especially halfway through the season. I mean, I get it. Okay, Cook won the rushing title, and last year Josh was the MVP. So the offense, has been fine. And you could argue, these screen passes and stuff that people complain about. Oh, they don't have the receivers and this and that, and I don't know. And maybe McDermott was hindering Brady and saying, "Hey, you gotta run more and do this more and not worry about that." I'm rationalizing right now, but maybe I don't know, maybe, but it just doesn't feel right, especially with the Pagula comments.
yeah, for sure. It was, I'm glad you said that because, like, if you're trying to rationalize as a Bill fan and you're trying to look forward, especially if you didn't want McDermott to get fired, you're looking at the screen passes, you're looking at the lack of talent on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, you're looking at these free agent signings that haven't gone right. And you're looking at that and you're like, well, I hope that a lot of that was McDermott's doing because if it wasn't, then nothing's really been fixed, right? So like you're hoping that those were that he had a hand in, like I'm trying to think of like the Von Millers and the Joey Bosa, or those guys were fine for a point, but like the Boogie Basham drafts, Cody Ford, like all these Kyer Elam, all these guys that have just busted out and just never Curtis Samuel signing, like all these guys that were just never amounted to anything and just ended up being a huge waste of cap space or draft capital. Like those were guys that hopefully Sean McDermott wanted. And then Brandon Beane was like, okay, I guess, that's just what, but the culture thing, like you said, John, is where it gets me because now we're hoping that the culture will stay intact either by Joe Brady continuing the culture or getting it maybe into a better position, which is definitely possible. It can always get better, right? It could always get worse though, but he gets the culture in a better position, or that the players can bring it to another level too. Josh Allen's leadership will help the culture and bring it to another level. So you're hoping for at least, 2 or 3 of these things to be true to put you in at least as good as last season or better, right?
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing that rubbed me the wrong way, probably maybe even the most, from the Pagula press conference was throwing Keon Coleman under the bus. Like, yeah, we get it. He hasn't been lighting the world on fire, hasn't been that great, but why would you do that to like an active player on your roster? Like, it's not going to make it better.
That was the best part of the Joe Brady hiring press conference was that Terry Pagula was not at that press conference, right? Like, I mean, that made everyone just feel better immediately just because they're like, oh yeah, like, I don't have to hear this guy talk like this. I don't know. It was, he is not doing the franchise any favors by talking because, and give the Bills media personnel credit when they were talking and asking questions to Pagula because they were like, wait a minute, but you were upset that Josh was so upset that they lost, but you agreed that it was because of a bad call. So had that bad call not happened, would we still be talking about this? Like they kind of got him in a, like, where is the logic? Where's the true logic in this firing?
Yeah. Yeah. And Pagula, he kept interrupting Bean. And there's this one meme where Bean just turns his head and looks at Pagula like, what are you doing? It's awesome. But But he's like, he at one point he interrupts. He's like, "Oh, bad call." Like, well, okay, yeah, but Josh turned the ball over like 5 times. Like,
Yeah.
like, come on.
Again, and people were like, well, that's the people that wanted McDermott gone, which I get. Were like, well, he shouldn't have been in that position to have a fumble before the end of the half, which I get. I totally get. But I mean, where do you cut off the responsibility from player to coaching for fumbles, right? Like Josh Allen throws 2 picks, he fumbles it 2 times, James Cook fumbles it once. Like, how is that the coach's fault, right? Like, you don't think that they're telling them to hold on to the ball and not throw the ball into double coverage? I mean,
Yeah,
again,
yeah, they're not putting like this isn't like during the regular season you're putting in like it's like a running back competition, and it's like, oh, well, let's try this guy, and then he starts fumbling. Oh, we should have stayed with the first. Like, no, it's James Cook. Like, it's like it's Josh Allen. You're not going to put in somebody else because they
yeah,
fumbled a couple times. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's weird.
I get it. Like, but a ton of responsibility goes on McDermott, on Josh Allen, on the fact that Josh Allen had to throw to Brandon Cooks and McCole Hardman in the most important opportunities in the game, which is sad in and of itself, right? Like, those guys aren't starters on 90% of the teams out there right now, and those were who they relied on, and that's not necessarily McDermott's fault. And when people were saying, well, McDermott was saying about being in the press conferences, like, kind of backhanding, the fact that he wanted Jacoby Myers was a good trade, asset for the Jaguars, like saying all about all these other players being really good. It's like, yeah, well, guess what? I freaking agree with McDermott. I would love to have those players on the roster too, like these pass rushers. And it's like, yeah, and guess what, John? When we talk about the Bills' big board of needs, how many of these needs are going to be different between last year and this year in the grand scheme of things? We're probably going to add a few more, to be honest, with free agency happening, the Bills losing players and being so stuck against the cap that, we're.
Yeah, it's not gonna be that much different. It, yeah, something else on Coleman before I was gonna say, but
Yeah, I mean, we were talking before this. You were going through the rookie class of this last season and their impact on the roster, and I was like, yeah, it was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't awful. It was okay. This was a year where they could have absolutely used a rookie to step up as a defensive tackle. I mean, they did have Deion Walker, but TJ Sanders coming in and being that pass rushing guy when Ed Oliver was out would have been tremendous. I think the way I look at it, John, from like a 50,000 foot standpoint for the Bills this offseason, let me know what you think about this, is they are so cap strapped that it's going to be very tough to get free agents, at least the free agents that you might want. I'm tired of these like Joshua Palmer's, Curtis Samuel guys. I'd rather like pay more for a guy and then just honestly stack draft picks. Like, that's kind of my thought process going into this draft because they don't have a lot of draft capital. I want them to keep trading back so that they get like 10 or 11 picks this year. And then maybe they add a couple for next season. I think that's where they're going to get a lot of, as long as they draft well, their players and start getting the future of this franchise going. Because I don't think it's in these mid signings like Larry Ogunjobi, who his only contribution the whole freaking year was lining up offsides on the fumble by the Broncos that got overturned. Like, that was his only contribution. What a worthless, absolutely worthless signing for Ogunjobi. We lost him for 6 games because of a PED suspension, and then he chokes in the biggest game of the season. We got to stop signing these guys. We got to actually go and try to find talented. We're wasting money. I'd rather draft a guy in the 3rd round than start Larry Ogunjobi or Curtis Samuel or something like that. It's just like, let's freaking try something else. This is not working.
it's unfortunate because when they do hit, like Michael Hoyt, oh, now he's hurt. Like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Michael Hoyt was by far the best free agent signing that they had, and he lasted a game and a half. Mm.
so like you're talking about the drafts and like trading down and this year and next year. Um, do we know how good the depth is at the different positions in the next couple drafts, and how that aligns with our needs? Or am I getting too far ahead of ourselves?
Not, I keep getting a little too far ahead of ourselves. As far as like 2027 and 2028, I think that's still, I mean, maybe other draft people would know better, but like this is supposedly a very like defensive heavy draft. So like there's a lot of like really good edge defenders, there's some good cornerbacks and wide receivers. Which is, if you
We
think about it,
need all those things.
we need all those things. So yeah, if you were going to trade back, the idea would be to trade back, I guess, to pick up more picks this season, right? Like than for next year, because the two of the biggest needs I just mentioned. So
Also, I'm curious with Jim Leonard, what kind of defensive schemes might change, which might, they might be looking at different players than they have been under McDermott for like drafting and free agency and stuff.
so it sounds like from what I've been reading that they're probably going to be a 3-4 base defense, which is going to be a lot different than what we see normally. And then they're going to go from a lot more zone heavy coverage looks to man coverage looks. So if you think about the 3-4 aspect of it, the Bills don't have a true nose tackle. Like you start there, right? Like the Bills don't, like Deon Walker's big, but he's still not that, you know, uh, double block, two gapping sort of guy yet. He's still, even if his size, like 340 pounds or whatever he is, 6'6", 340 pounds, like he's still more of a penetrating one tech defensive tackle. Like that's just where he's always been. Not that he can't learn it, but it's just something he's never had to do consistently. So like that's a struggle. They don't have a true nose tackle. Their defensive ends, like they could probably use Greg Rousseau as a defensive end, 3-4 defensive end. They might need another guy, maybe TJ Sanders or Ed Oliver, but they just have short arms. Those guys are supposed to have longer arms, and be taller. Ed Oliver's small. Spencer or TJ Sanders isn't huge. So yeah, it's kind of a weird thing. They don't have enough linebackers.
All of a sudden, they don't have enough linebackers. Milano is on his way out. You got, I mean, Bernard, I think, has taken a step back since his injury.
And he's undersized. Yeah, I mean
Dorian Williams has been okay. They got injuries in. I mean, yeah, it's hard. I don't
more
know.
holes roster.
Maybe I don't know if like a safety can step into that role. Although they're short on safety too. So, yeah.
They're short on safety. They're short on linebackers. They're short on defensive ends. They're short on defensive tackles. I mean, what in this? I'd say that their strength right now on defense right now is Christian Benford and Hairston, right? Like those are the best players are their starting defensive cornerbacks,
Yeah.
and those guys haven't played together a ton because of Harrison's injuries.
Yeah, I do like what I've seen from Cole Bishop. And Ed Oliver's been good. I just don't know how they're gonna use him.
He
Yeah,
doesn't
so
he doesn't fit well in a 3-4. Just doesn't.
I guess if you're going to reinvent the defense, it's a good time to do it because last year and this year they need to rebuild it anyway.
Yeah.
So they need to restock with talent either way on defense. So if you're gonna change it up, may as well do it.
Yeah, in an ideal world, this is how I see it. Obviously try to keep, either oh, by the way, speaking of like Joe Brady and his tenure now with the Buffalo Bills as head coach, I know you said you were listening or watched the interview with Peter Herzog from Film Watchers. Did that make you any more confident in Joe Brady taking the next step for the Buffalo Bills, or did it bring up more questions? Because Peter loves Joe Brady, at least as a play caller, loves him.
I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I mean,
Okay, that's fair.
he did good with what he had to work with, I guess. He relied on yards after the catch a lot, but maybe he knew that he could get that.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know what the numbers are on those types of things, but if they have to rebuild the defense, which they would have to do either way, like I said, they need to bring in receivers to help the offense be more explosive to compensate for the defense needing time to be great again, right?
Hmm. What if you were to talk about the Bills team, at least the players that are definitely going to be here in 2026? Where is the strength of this roster? Because I think it's shifting now, and it might be better or it might be worse, depending on how free agency goes. Besides Josh Allen, obviously Josh Allen being the strength.
Yeah, I mean, like they got all their running backs: Cook, Ty Johnson, Ray Davis, James Gore, or Frank Gore. Um, assume they'll bring Gilliam back. I don't think there's a huge market for fullbacks necessarily. Um, tight ends: Kincaid, Knox, Hawes. That's all good. Offensive line looks good. We don't know about McGovern and Edwards. They're not going to bring both of them back. They might bring one back, but they do have a lot of depth on the offensive line, which is good. So really, on the offense, the only true concern that I have is wide receiver.
Hmm. We didn't even
Uh,
speak about Aaron Cromer leaving. I think that's a huge loss for the Buffalo Bills. I know they brought in the offensive line coach from, I believe it was Pittsburgh, and people are saying he's really good. But Aaron
mhm.
Cromer is like one of the best. So like that's a huge loss. We haven't really discussed that at all at any point this offseason. So like if that on top of everything else, it's
I
not
agree with
ideal.
that. Yeah,
But But in saying that, when you mentioned, losing McGovern or Edwards or both, I feel confident that Alec Anderson could step into which one of those two roles, hopefully, and become a starter for the Bills. I think that that's kind of the plan at this point. Um, I'm not sure exactly which role. I think maybe it depends. Who can they keep? Who can they not keep? Who can they not afford? He moves into one of those two roles, and then they either re-sign someone or they find another person in free agency. So yeah, the offensive line, I feel not as confident, obviously, as this last season when everyone was intact for the second straight season and healthy, by the way. But yeah, I look at this roster, and just in our discussions of strengths on this team, there's not a ton of them, right? Like there's some big ones at the top with Josh Allen, James Cook, part of the offensive line, most of the offensive line. And then after that, it drops off pretty dramatically. So you're talking a lot of the defense besides corners and Cole Bishop, most of the defense besides those two guys, really, or those three guys, and then most of the offensive line and none of the wide receivers. But Dalton Kincaid should count as one of the strengths, but can you count him? He's not healthy, right? Um, so what stinks about this, and I'm just thinking, again, from a 50,000 foot standpoint, what's frustrating to me is the Bills are so close against the cap, and what do they really have to show for it, right? Like if you're that close to the cap, I feel like you should be within like a positional group. Oh, well, we got like this right, but wide receivers aren't good. But we figured out a lot of the rest of it. It's like, no, we're still up against the cap. We still need wide receivers. We still need pass rushers. We still maybe need defensive tackles. We need linebackers, and we need a safety.
that's a lot.
It's a
Like
lot.
just looking at receiver, you're going to want to draft two and bring in someone significant. Doesn't have to be top tier, but someone significant.
So,
Maybe they trade for like a Brian Thomas or something.
yeah, which I'd be completely fine with. I don't think they do that, but I would be. I hope that they do. Yeah, that would significantly make this. All of a sudden, you're talking about this wide receiving core all automatically being better than it was last season, just based on a trade for Brian Thomas Jr., right? Or a player of that caliber. Um, I just don't want to leave free agency with the Bills having the same top wide receivers, and now we're hoping that we can draft someone in the end of the first round or in the second round, and then just hope that they're better than Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, Joshua Palmer, those guys. We're just hoping that they are, right? So
Yeah, it doesn't it doesn't look like a great receiving core right now.
no,
Or even good.
or even good. Absolutely. So, John, the Bills restructured Spencer Brown just to get under the cap. Who brought up a good question earlier? John Robert. John Robert brought up a great question earlier. He said, who will be restructured next? And when I look at the players that are, on the roster, usually you try to find a player that's going to be with the Bills for the considerable future, right? Like you don't want to backload a contract just to cut them the next season, which I think we did for Von Miller one year. I can't remember, but like that ended up obviously sucking because then we ended up having to cut him. But with the players on this roster, when you look at, the guys that are the bigger cap hits, the guys that, will be in the future for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, I'm looking at guys like, I'm not so sure now with a 3-4 transition to Ed Oliver, but like, maybe Greg Rousseau or maybe Christian Benford. But other than that, maybe Khalil Shakir. Like there's not a lot of guys that are on
Josh
long
Allen.
contracts. Josh Allen again, of course, right? I mean,
I was wondering if Dawson Knox would take a pay cut.
do you think that I was thinking about that specifically. I don't know if he'd take a significant enough pay cut. Guess how much he's set to make this season in 2026?
It's got to be like 10 million at least.
It is 17 million. That's his
Yeah.
cap hit this season. I believe this is the last year of his contract. So here, let's think for a second, okay?
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm thinking like this is the last year of his contract. It's hard to get it from like under like let's say his cap hit is 17 million. Like there's no way you're going to get it down to like 5 million less, right? Like that, no one takes a $5 million pay cut. Like they might take 2 or 3 million like Von Miller did, but they don't take like 5 to 7 million. Nobody.
What did Milano take? He took a pay cut too, right? Last year?
No, they just voided a year in his
Okay.
contract. So they're still paying him. They're still paying him for this season. So he counts against the cap. Matt Milano has an $11 million cap hit, and he won't be on the team.
Nice. Well, yeah, I mean, unless they
Nice.
resign.
Nice. Joey Bosa's taking a $7.2 million cap hit. Like, so where I come off of this is nobody's going to pay Dawson Knox $17 million next season. Like, it's not going to happen.
You can't trade him.
You can't trade him. Do you extend him for one season and draw out that money?
But then it's
maybe instead of 17 million in one season. I know it's not exactly 17 million. I know that there's a base salary, a bonus, all that stuff. But like, let's say if you were doing 17 to 1, maybe 20 for 2, right? Or maybe because he is, maybe you do 24 for 3 or something like that. I don't know. Like it's any way that you could possibly, I doubt he would take that, but any way you could possibly extend that out and make that cap hit less over time and not give him that much more money. I think it's a win for Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox gets what, like 580 yards a season? It's not that much. It's making top 7, top 8 money, and he is not top 7, top 8. Okay.
Yeah, I tried to get him to take a pay cut.
Yeah, I do the pay cut or I extend him on like the vet minimum or something barely more than that, right? Like it's because I
mean, between Kincaid, I know he's got the injury history now all of a sudden, but his productivity for the amount of time he's on the field is outstanding. And then you got Jackson Hawes, who was really good.
Kind of eliminates the need. If Hawes and Kincaid are healthy, don't you think that kind of eliminates Dawson Knox's need at all to be there?
Right. And they can always just bring in somebody else. Like, I'm just saying that like it's an easy thing to do, but like if you want Kincaid to be your 1 and Haas to be your 2, you can always bring in a third, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. You could find somebody to get 500 yards receiving every season as a tight end. Yes, that's not impossible for sure. And halfway decent blocker. One of the worst contracts, and it's for the Buffalo Bills, is Ben Dawson Knox. But I get why they
Yeah.
did it, and I don't fault them necessarily. It was just, whew.
I think I faulted them at the time. I don't think I liked that when they did that.
But why did they have to make that signing?
Why did they?
Because they had no one better. Because they didn't draft Dalton Kincaid or anyone else. Because they ignored the tight end position. They're like, oh shit, now we actually don't have anyone.
But that's the funny thing. They like didn't they like do that, and then like the very next draft, like that same offseason, they drafted they traded up for Kincaid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. So I know eventually you're gonna have to pay Kincaid if you want him to stay here. Like that's the thing with all these rookie contracts and guys coming up. Osiris Torrance is coming up soon. Do you sign him, to a longer term deal? I mean, he's gonna be a free agent after this season. Like there's some good guys that are going to be up for free agency. So anyway, it's an interesting discussion. I think it's going to be one of those 3 or 4 guys I just mentioned that's going to get the extension, because I don't know if right now. Let's see. These are their top 10 or 12 cap hits. Josh Allen, they'll probably restructure his contract. Deion Dawkins, I don't know if they figure Deion Dawkins into the future after this season. I believe this is his last season. He's 32 years old. No, I'm sorry. He has 2 more years left on his contract, this year and next. So maybe they do something with Deion Dawkins. Ed Oliver is next. Dawson Knox is after that. Greg Rousseau, Joshua Palmer, Taron Johnson, Curtis Samuel, Spencer Brown, Christian Benford, Michael Hoyt, Khalil Shakir, James Cook. I could see them restructuring James Cook's contract. Do you really want to like restructure a guy who's going to be maybe 29, 30 by the time his contract's done? I don't know.
And a running back. Of course, I was all against the whole paying. Although I think it was a fair deal. They didn't overpay. But at the time, I was like, don't give in to anything because I hate running backs and this and that. Of course, it wins the rushing title, but no, I do think it was a fair deal at the time.
Oh yeah, I think he's out.
And he outperformed it. He won the rushing title, so.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. They're obviously going to have to make some moves with probably 3 or 4 of these guys. They're definitely going to cut Curtis Samuel at some point. I think they save $8 million by doing that. It's just not even a question. I mean, I keep on putting these stats in. It's like he's gotten $40,000 for like every yard receiving he's gotten in his contract. It's just like, it's $10 million per touchdown or something like that. It's absolutely disgraceful how much they've paid him and what they've got out of him. I mean, hey, injuries are a thing.
Yeah. Well, also Brandon Bean got promoted. We can talk about
Well, obviously, clearly. So John, this is one of the things that I'm glad you mentioned Brandon Bean. We were talking about Joe Brady earlier. At the Combine, Joe Brady's comments, he just got lambasted on social media. And to WGR's credit, Jeremy White has been talking about this for a while now. And I agree with him 100%. He's been mentioning like the fact that Brandon Bean, previous to this, was always the guy that was saying, when you have to pay your franchise quarterback, you can't do this, or it's a little bit tougher to do this. And he's like, stop doing that. Jeremy White's conversation. He's like, stop talking about it being a bad thing to pay your quarterback. He's like, right, you're in a great position to do that. Like that, and he's actually worth the money.
That's what you want, kind of. I mean, you ideally want to get your window in before on his rookie contract, but yeah, like, and then like, how does that make Josh Allen feel? Like talking like, when your GM and coach are talking about you in the public like that, like, oh well, we're paying Josh Allen so much.
Yeah. How many teams in the NFL would give their right foot to be paying Josh Allen? And you're just like, oh, it sounds more like it's an excuse rather than it's like, oh, this is why, we can't get the free agents we want. Or it's like, how about you do this? How about you stop signing mid free agents and, drafting so poorly? Because if you can do those two things, then all of a sudden it makes look at the teams that have been winning the Super Bowls the last few seasons. If you look at the Chiefs or you're looking at the Seahawks, now obviously they're not paying Sam Darnold what they pay Josh Allen, but he's making 35-40 million a year. Like this, like it's not nothing, play teams that pay quarterbacks still win Super Bowls. They still get further than they still go to Super Bowls. Like that line of logic is just frustrating beyond all belief. And so when I said something about it on Twitter to that respect, or to that point, I was not surprised for the amount of backlash that Joe Brady got for that. Oh, he's a mouthpiece for Brandon Beane. Oh, he's just this and that. And I agree to a point he is, but the fan base is still not 100% on board with this whole. It almost felt like a coup, with Joe Brady staying, but they've got to stop talking about it being a bad thing. Like you mentioned, if Josh Allen actually took that in a negative light, which I don't think he does, I don't think his ego is that small. I'd get annoyed after a while. John, our company would be doing so much better if we didn't have to pay you so much. Like, okay, well, I also perform really well for the company or whatever. Stop doing it. Stop doing it. Draft better. Put the onus on yourself. I need to draft better. I need to sign better players. I need to scout better. I need to do whatever better because it's not working, whatever it is.
Yeah. The last president for the Buffalo Bills that wasn't an owner was Tom Donahoe.
Was it? I thought it was Russ Brandon. It was Tom Donahoe.
I don't think Russ Brandon was president.
I thought he was president of operations or something like that.
No, because I think Ralph Wilson,
or was he CEO? Maybe something like that. Because Ralph Wilson wasn't.
Yeah. Because I think. That's a good. I think Brandon. Let me look it up. I want to be sure.
Oh, good.
They did give Russ Brandon a lot of extra titles and stuff, but I don't think he.
I'm going to read a couple of comments. Mr. Big Mike says, prefer Anderson in the Edwards role and keep McGovern, but that'll be more expensive. I agree 100%. Love Connor McGovern. Josh obviously loves him. The center position is so much more vital, but at the same time, so much more expensive. And I think that they were getting a really good deal on McGovern this last season, him making the switch from guard, which is where they extended him for that 3-year contract on a guard salary, which was a good guard salary, but it's not a center salary. So they got a deal there. He did it selflessly. I would love for McGovern to come back, but I'm not sure that they can afford him or find a way to do that. So love that post. Going back to Pagula, Big Mike again says Pagula has probably never completed in any actual sport, which makes it hard for him to understand a lot of things. Dude, I said this on the post Sean McDermott firing podcast, which is kind of like, it just goes to show that billionaires, man, like sometimes you think that they're extraordinary people, which some of them are. I'm not trying to take away from all of them, but then some of them just got lucky or they're just good at one thing, because Terry Pegula is not good at talking to fans, at talking to the media, at conveying his points when he's trying to discuss them in front of people. It just looked awful. And to the point where if I was a prospective player or maybe a coach that wasn't in house, I don't think I'd look at that press conference and be like, I want to play for that team or I want to coach for that team. He does not happen, or he does not give the franchise a good look necessarily. Mr. Big Mike also said that's what happens when you have a non-football background guy owning a team, which is most of them, man. Most of those guys don't go into football because uh, they're really good at football. It's because they're big into energy or oil, or they owned a part of Microsoft or whatever. Like those are where the owners are coming from. So, not football guys. John, you have an update?
I think you're right on Brandon. I think he was president at a point in time. So
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's all whatever, but like even so, even if it was Russ Brandon, Tom Donahoe was 20 years ago too, right? So it's been a while.
yeah, and
At least 10,
they
15 years.
were both terrible.
Yeah, they were both.
It's I know there's a lot of controversy with Brandon, but from a football perspective, Donahoe is even worse. If that's hard to believe because Brandon was bad, also from a football perspective, but
Yeah.
yeah.
It's at least with Brandon Bean, he drafted Josh Allen, and he has hit on some good players.
No, he was drafted before, right?
No, that was Brandon Bean's first draft.
I thought that was like a McDermott draft with Whaley.
No, that was the Trey White, Deion Dawkins draft.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
Dude, we're getting
Jeez.
old. Don't feel bad.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Don't feel bad. But that was Brandon Bean. Brandon Bean did a lot of manipulation to the roster between trades and moving around to get to draft Josh Allen. So give him credit for that. Tom Donahoe, Russ Brandon, they never got a sniff of a quarterback half as good as Josh Allen. So let's hope, man. Let's
you
hope.
can ride that. You can ride that through Allen's whole career before he gets fired. Really? I mean,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
That was actually going to be my next question, John. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just thinking about other Bills GMs like Bill Polian and John Butler.
Good.
Obviously, Polian and Ralph Wilson had some issues at some point, but Polian was amazing for the Bills. The Cornelius Bennett trade and so many things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Didn't Butler have a falling out with Ralph? Isn't that why he got fired too? Because then he went to the Chargers, and the Chargers ended up being good after.
Yeah, that was a thing. There's probably also a thing. Yeah, I think
because he was a good GM also.
Yeah.
After Polian, he was like, yeah,
they're both good GMs.
The egos of these owners to just screw over, just because they don't get along with someone or because they saw the coach cry or the quarterback crying after a loss. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it's you keep things in perspective.
And it's so weird because both Wilson and Pagula kept the Bills in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make everything, some of the other things right, but it's like, all right, well.
Dude, if the Bills make it to the Super Bowl this year and Joe Brady wins it, I will eat everything I'm saying right now and say absolutely it was the right decision. I'm so glad that Pagula stepped in and Brandon Bean got promoted. I will say all of those things. It's just from the outside, logically, it just doesn't feel that way. But again, if you're looking at it optimistically, that you're hoping that McDermott had his fingers in a lot more than you would have liked him to. And them firing him gives Brandon a little bit more leeway and freedom to draft who he wants to, as opposed to who he was told to, or who.
Yeah, it's this is the worst I felt about the Bills since going into the 2001 season, where they went 3-13. So which I completely predicted they would do that at that time. But it's not the same way. It's like they're not going to go 3-13 next year. Mm-hmm. Just don't feel good.
Yeah, same here. Same here with everything else going on. We mentioned the cap issues and free agency. I want to be optimistic. Well, it's just kind of wait and see. But John, if this was one of those drafts, like the 2022 draft, or whichever one had like Bernard, James Cook, Christian Benford, if it's one of those drafts, all of a sudden we're talking about 3 to 4 or 5 impact players from the draft alone, and hopefully a free agent hits too, and all of a sudden we're talking about a really good squad led by Josh Allen, who hopefully has a better season. I think he took a step back last season, maybe due to the weapons around him or maybe due to his own play. If he steps up next year, then all of a sudden, we're talking about a team that could play a lot better than the 2025 Bills did. So
Yeah.
hopefully.
Could go either way.
One of the biggest, it could be one of the biggest, things that came out this last week were the NFL Players Association report cards for the Buffalo Bills. I don't know if you saw that. Like they were giving grades about,
I heard it. I didn't see what the results were.
So there's a lot of different things where they get, graded on as far as, the locker rooms. Okay. So here's what it has for the Buffalo Bills. Treatment of families is a B grade. The home game field, an F. Like that wasn't even like a C or a D, an F.
It's a good thing they're going to go to a new stadium next year.
Exactly. Hopefully that takes care of that. It better be an A next year with all the money they spent on it. It'd be funny if that goes down to if it goes up to a C next year. You're like, really? That's why we spent $2.5 billion.
It's better than F. They're passing.
What is it? C's get degrees. Is that what it is? C's and D's get degrees. Food and dining area was a B minus. The nutritionist dietitian was a B minus. The locker room was a B. The training room was a B plus. The training staff was a B plus. Weight room was an A. The strength coaches were an A. The positional coaches were an A. Strength coaches an A. Like you think that's a good thing. I mean, again, injuries. You start to think maybe that's not a conditioning issue as far as like facilities goes. Like they had everything in place. Maybe just some bad luck.
I wonder if it's like more so like rehab and stuff too. Like a lot of the injuries are kind of like freak injuries. I don't think it's all because of strength and conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
No, I agree.
I'm just spitballing.
No, I agree. Like, yeah, if Michael Hoyt tears his Achilles in the middle of a game, is that because he didn't condition well enough, or because they didn't have him on the proper diet? I know it's just an unfortunate mistake, right?
Yeah.
Positional coaches A. This is last season, of course. Offensive coordinator A minus. Now that's obviously a good sign, right? Your offensive coordinator got an A minus. He's now your head coach. This is interesting. I didn't quite think this was going to be the case. Defensive coordinator. So obviously last season that was Bobby Babich, who's now with Green Bay Packers, I believe. This is a defensive game assistant coach. He got a B. He got the worst grade of like all the coaches. Bobby Babich.
B's still pretty good.
Yeah, it's not that bad. I guess I was kind of surprised. I thought, anyway, special teams coordinator B plus. Team travel was a B minus. The players were not fans of the travel. That's one of their lowest grades besides nutritionists and dietitians. Head coach got an A minus last season. General manager got an A minus, and team ownership got an A minus. So,
Oh, I wonder how that is like if they were to redo the grades like now. Right? Because like when did they survey everybody?
Oh, that's a good question. I imagine it's during the season, or maybe it is postseason. Like they wanted everyone's. That's a great question. I don't know when that came out, but from the outside in, I mean, a lot of good grades.
Yeah.
So yeah, John, biggest needs on the Bills. We're about 45 minutes into this. Where would you put your biggest need right now?
I think it's mostly same as last year at this time. I would say wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And then pass rusher. And
Okay.
then secondary, although if they're going to go to a 3-4, Linebacker is probably pretty big need too. And also, they don't have any punters on the roster currently, unless they extend or resign Mitch Wishnowski. Yeah. And Reggie Gilliam's a free agent too, technically. So if they don't resign him, fullback, unless they go a different route, from an offensive game plan standpoint, and don't want a fullback, then that's that could be a different thing.
So I think I'm going to go, man. When you look at where the teams that were in the Super Bowl, where their strengths were on that game, the Bills have huge weaknesses in those areas, right?
Yep.
Specifically on defense, specifically pass rush. I mean, think about every time the Bills lose in the playoffs, like they never get a sack, right? Like the pressure is almost non-existent. I want to say wide receiver because I think that getting Josh a true weapon and getting him a true weapon along with, obviously the offensive line help, that takes the offense to a new level. I, again, blame a lot of the offense and the play calling on not so much Joe Brady, but just the lack of personnel he had to work with. Because when he was the passing game coordinator in LSU with Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow, he wasn't throwing wide receiver screens the whole time. So what's more likely, the fact that he had to, work with what he had, or the fact that he just decided to go super conservative? I think it was the former. Excuse me. Give him a weapon, give Josh Allen a weapon. But man, if they went first round in the draft at a defensive end, I would not be upset. I think that those are clearly our two biggest needs. And then from there, it all depends on between linebacker and who they don't end up signing in free agency between their center and guard. Because although I do think that the Cedric Van Buren Granger might be a potential option at center, he just doesn't have a lot of experience. This is his third season. He hasn't started more than one game, I think, due to injury. So, I mean, that's a big question mark. You just don't know what you have there. Alec Anderson will step into one of those roles too. So, yeah, I'm curious. So, as of right now, I probably have wide receiver 1A, defensive end 1B, and then it's offensive line and linebacker. And again, John, if we were talking about double dipping, I feel like wide receiver, you got to double dip in the draft, like no matter what, unless you pay or trade for like a big name, like you have to double dip this year of all years. And then maybe even at linebacker, like double dip at linebacker too.
Yeah, I like your thought process. And I think even if they bring in a significant free agent, they should still double dip at receiver. And obviously, defense is huge. They got to revamp the defense. So and like you mentioned, we have the two free agent offensive linemen, so we got to take care of that too somehow.
So yeah, we'll see if they end up signing both of them. That takes a huge need off of the,
They're not going to resign both. We'll be lucky if they resign one, I think.
I agree.
And if they do, I don't know my preferences. I'm leaning McGovern, but I'll be happy if they resign one of them.
Yeah, definitely. One thing I would be interested in, we were talking pass rusher. Javon Solomon is a smaller pass rusher and might be a better fit for a 3-4 outside linebacker pass rusher than he was as a small 4-3 defensive end. That's just my thought. It's a small thing, might end up being absolutely nothing, but there's a small possibility we have pass rush on the roster that wasn't properly utilized. But also, I've been running across this thought, John, because I think safety is still in need. We mentioned that earlier. You mentioned Cole Bishop being a good player, but still not having a true safety next to him, a good free safety or a center field safety. What do you think about this? For a good price, it wouldn't be expensive, getting Tre'Davious White and bringing him back as the free safety. with his knowledge, his instincts, maybe not the speed that you would love to have at safety, trying to track down like the Micah Hyde interception against the Patriots in the playoffs, sort of running down a pass and picking it off out of nowhere sort of guy. But a guy that's only 30, he still has some left in him. I think he still played well, honestly, at the end of the year at corner. So I wouldn't hate having him back as a corner, but I think he could play safety.
I don't know. I think I haven't looked at the. It's already March. I should know this already, but I haven't looked at the available free agent market yet for all these different positions to see, kind of compare and contrast. Maybe for next week I'll look into that, but I don't know.
So Mike Clay does this thing where he does the unrestricted free agents cheat sheet. And this is who he has as his top safeties. He has Cameron Curl from the Los Angeles Rams, Kevin Byard from the Chicago Bears, Jalen Hawkins from the Patriots, Jalen Thompson from the Cardinals, Kobe Bryant from the Seahawks. I'd be interested in that. Nick Scott from the Panthers. Like, there's guys out there that could be an option. So if that's the case, I'm sure they definitely cut Taylor Rapp, save that money. But yeah, anyway, that's just a thought. It's just a passing thought I wanted to end on. Would love to have Tre'Davious White back. Love him being on the roster this last season. He did step up in a big way with Hairston having all of the injury issues he had from training camp all the way through to the end of the season. So that's another big if, by the way, if Hairston can stay healthy for a season, because he hasn't been able to stay healthy for more than like 3 games. So we'll get into it. But yeah, I think next week, we're going to talk a little bit more about, I'm sure they're going to restructure at least, 1 or 2 of the guys that we mentioned. They're going to find some cap space. We're going to start thinking like, hey, if they do end up having $12 million in cap, who's a guy that you could spend, $5 to $6 million or $8 million on to make some space. So yeah, going to be interesting. John, any final thoughts before we end this one?
No.
Same here. I appreciate everyone listening, being a part of this. Yeah, this has been fun to get our minds back into it. Free agency is coming before we know it. So thank you guys all for listening. Signing off for John.
Go Bills.
And for me, Nate, do good, be good, God bless, and go Bills. And we'll talk to you guys again.
Thank you for listening to the Circling the Wagons podcast. Download and subscribe to us in your favorite podcast service. Email us at ctwpod@gmail.com. That's Charlie Tango Whiskey Pod@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at CTWPod. And most importantly, go Bills!
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, Nate.
Well, listen, the whole show is called Circling the Wagons. Say no more. I love it.